On this week's episode of Talk and Power.
VSB 14, the Commodore owner has his say. Bathurst washout, bring your own squeegee. Can we finish the Camry? Can we? Radial versus the world. How did a small block out-qualify the Hemis? Desmo Dovey does it in the rain. Forces double podium and much, much more.
Recorded live in Balcatta, Western Australia, the Hoon capital of the world. This is Talk and Power.
Gap is what happens when you hold to the floor and crush the man next to you. There's space in between your back bumper and your front bumper. We in the South we refer to it as the gap band.
Well, I think Formula One is for grown-ups.
You've got a race in your own lane. Now he's on the grass. He brings it back. Oh, some great driving there.
Torque and Power, your motoring and motorsport podcast.
Welcome to the Talk and Power podcast. We are up to episode 15. I am Nick DeChembra and I'm here with the co-host Simon Gonzo Travellini. How are you, Simon?
Good, mate. Yourself?
I'm very well, thanks. I'm very well.
Listen, sorry about getting here a bit late.
That's all right.
I got a phone call this afternoon from Aidan Stampolidia.
Oh, okay, yep.
So for those of you out there that don't know Aidan Stampolidia, that whole, in Western Australia anyway, the whole stock LS turbo movement, he didn't just create it, he pretty much owned it for a very long time with his VN Commodore.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the car, but
I do, yep.
Basically it was a stock LS with a single turbo on it. And it went out and blasted a 9-second pass, I think, on its one and only lap before they sort of said to him, you need to put a roll cage and parachute and
this is his red in colour.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yep.
So he didn't go. He didn't do that back in those days to prove any points or anything. It was basically because he had a stock LS and a turbo, and the gearbox and converter that was in that car was out of his dad's big block Ute.
Yeah.
And I remember the conversation. You reckon it'll work? I was like, well, yeah, probably. Probably makes about the same power, so. It should do. So he, you may or may not know, he has been doing a lot of work on that Commodore for a number of years now, and he's got a pretty serious 275 car there now.
Okay.
So I can't tell you too much, but we're on the phone for a while, and it involved hemispherical combustion chambers. Oh,
all right.
And blowers.
Wow.
Yeah. He's given the turbos away. He's grown up, so. It was a really it was a good discussion. I look forward to seeing that car doing some laps. I think
wow.
The thing is, if back then with basically a VN that he picked up and put together in his backyard, obviously, I mean, the Stampoliers are ingrained in drag racing in Western Australia. Uncle Paul, super stock legend. Dad Glenn used to, race for many years in Super Street. But to be able to show up at the track, first time out, run a 9, 139 to 60 that car went back then with standard suspension. Yeah. So, it just shows you that if you're prepared to prepare, then, and that kid definitely, he's got what it takes to go out there and run some numbers.
How old is he? He's not that old.
Not that old, no. No, he's not as old as me.
No.
But not many people are.
No. I'm not as old as you either.
No, you're not. You're not. Anyway, so I just wanted to start with a lot has happened in the last 2 days. Mm-hmm. And that included getting a phone call yesterday.
Wow.
From the Commodore owner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The one that we may have offended someone?
No, I don't think I think what we did inadvertently, or maybe deliberately, we vilified him. And I've got to be honest with you, Nick. In this story, I don't see this man as a villain. I actually see him as the hero. Right?
Oh, but we did in the last podcast. We called him the DH word a number of times. Well, so which we've had to edit out.
Well, you know what? I take it all back.
Yeah.
I take it all back. There is a saying that there is always two sides to the story, and obviously I presented a spokesperson, I guess let's call them from the Department of Transport. But now I've spoken to the owner of the car. I don't know his name. I actually said to him, "Look, I don't want to know what your name is." So
we didn't say his name in the podcast anyway.
Well, I don't know what his name is.
Yep.
I actually have that information, and I don't want that information because it's irrelevant who it is. It's how it happened. So basically. And I've been told this. Obviously, I've put in some crazy applications over the years. I've been told that you can't go outside of the guidelines of VSB 14, right? That was the letter of the law, shall we say, the policy, right? Well, apparently you can. And apparently it happens on quite a regular basis. Now, why does it happen? Who makes the decision, right? It's kind of like when West Coast used to play Geelong and Gary Ablett used to come out and hit someone and no one got a free kick, right? You're looking for consistency in umpiring. Now, that wasn't fair to the Eagles, and I guess this situation wasn't really fair to him. So he presented the argument to the Department of Transport that I am prepared to do whatever it takes to get this car registered, right? And they weren't interested. They weren't interested in any engineering, structural. He offered to do twist tests. He offered to do whatever they wanted. You tell me what you want done, and I'll do it. I don't agree with it, but I'll do it because this is what I want. I want this combination of engine, transmission, and differential in this body style, right? So, aside from what we discussed, the Audi deal, he sent the application off to South Australia and it was approved immediately.
Yeah.
Right? So armed with that, he said, well, how come it's all right there and it's not all right here? And really the Ombudsman was out of sheer frustration after more than 2 years of trying to get some sort of sensible answer out of the Department of Transport. They basically just wouldn't reply to his emails or letters anymore. It would be very difficult for this government, for this state government, to pull off giving us stricter laws than the rest of Australia. And there would definitely be the opportunity to take this further from a legal perspective. Because why should something that's deemed legal in New South Wales or South Australia or Queensland be deemed illegal in Western Australia?
Yeah.
So it's once again, it's a watch this space. The comment that he made that I think is very valid is, remember I discussed that the RAC and the MTA were involved in this process now. The RAC will not register modified vehicles, right? Even modified late model vehicles that are permitted, right? So they shouldn't they shouldn't at all be involved in this discussion, because if they're not prepared to license those vehicles, why would they say to the Department of Transport, well, here's a set of guidelines that we're happy with, when they won't accept any modifications to a vehicle at all? So I think that it would be wise of the Department of Transport to talk to Shannons, because they specialise in the insurance of vehicles like that. And unlike the RAC, they're not going to say, oh no, we're not for this. We think this is There's also a number of statistics that are being compiled at the moment, and I haven't seen them as yet. I've only been briefed on them, and it's fairly evident that people who modify cars and do it legally are the safest drivers on the road.
Oh, I have no doubt about that. Absolutely none whatsoever.
So,
yep.
Well, that's the latest with the VSB 14 saga at this point in time.
Yep. I just want to say to all of our listeners and people out there, thanks for your comments as well. That post that we put up about a week ago, it wasn't even a week ago, I think it was Friday night I might have put it up. It's gone, for the lack of a better word, viral. Well, viral on Talk and Power Facebook page.
And Steve Gerger, I'm wearing this shirt for you, mate. But don't worry. Hoon capital of the world's underneath. Right. I think this is kind of in the Tom Tilley. You know, the only difference is the hack is Tom. He's the hack, the journalist. He's a hack journalist, not the show. But anyway, we're not hacks, are we?
Not at all. Not at all. But I want to thank everyone for your comments. And there's a lot of people that are that have commented there that are behind what not what we're doing, but behind where we want this to go. So a lot of people have asked when it does come up for public comment, they want to know. So we'll keep an eye on that, of course, and we'll keep you updated as info comes to hand.
Hey, Nick, what's with the pretzels?
Oh, my wife got them out. She thought that would be...
Won't they be...
be crunchy.
I don't know if that works on radio.
No, it probably doesn't, actually. In retrospect, that's probably not a good move.
Coffee's a nice touch, though.
Oh, that's good. So, yeah, there we are. And I'd like to thank everyone for getting on board with that. And, I mean, it pushed our Facebook page likes up over 200. So, just that post alone. So, it was thanks for everyone for your comments and kind words.
Did you watch Bathurst?
Parts of. I didn't watch all of it, believe it or not. But
Didn't you?
I watched the last... I had a car show that I was involved with the same day. But I managed to catch the last 30 laps of Bathurst.
What'd you think?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I thought it was lackluster, and I was kind of surprised by the skill errors of some drivers. We'll put it that way.
Okay, who? I didn't think it was that bad. I
just thought the number of cars that went. I know it was raining. I know that it was a bad day for racing, but I was kind of surprised by.
Did you
the
get
outs.
to hear any Scafey's comments?
Some of them, yeah.
You know, like when they should be changing the tyres, they should be putting slicks on now.
Yeah.
You're lucky no one listened to him.
Look, the one I'm probably most critical of, and Mark Winterbottom, I just can't, with a handful of laps to go, puts it in the wall. I mean...
What are you going to do, Nick?
Yeah, look, I was just surprised. And Van Gisbergen as well, like, he went off. There was no move on there. That I think it was like 5 or 6 laps to go or whatever it was, but that move he put on down the chase, that move wasn't on. And then, it cost him... He still came... What did he come? 5th overall, Van Gisbergen, but he was having a crack at the lead at that stage. But anyway, I was just surprised by it all. It was good for Betty Clemenco.
Yeah, it was a huge win for, that was really, I mean, it's cliche, but David and Goliath, that's really what it was.
It was, yeah. And Betty's been in the sport now for numerous years. I think it's around about 6.5 years from when she bought out the Stone Brothers Racing. She's had her ups and downs with the sport and the category. Going Mercedes and now falling out with them and going and holding again. But it was good to see her win. It's her first breakthrough win.
And the lap of the gods?
I want to talk about that. Let's just have a listen to it as it unfolded. I want to have we'll have a quick chat about that.
This is going to be very, very close as a result of that. From the Sunday in Darwin, McLaughlin owned the Armour All poles all the way up to the end of Sydney Motorsport Park. When we got to Sandown, Cam Waters and Richie Stanaway snatched it away.
No
but
way!
How is the number? And he did it with 2 wheels in the dirt. McLaughlin is flying. We might see a 3. They're holding their breath at Shell V-Power Racing. Coulthard's in the background. They're watching at Erebus. Can he get it through the chase squarely? Uses the apron on the entry. It's pulling up straight. Feeds at second gear. No curb. Direction change. Gear change. It sits nicely. It didn't slide on the gear change. Ludo's excited. He can see the micro sectors. This might be the biggest lap ever at Mount Panorama. And McLaughlin comes to the line.
Yes!
He's done a 2-minute 3.8. They've gone berserk at Shell V-Power Racing. That is off the scale. That's his dad, Wayne. That is off the scale fast.
Well, that is absolutely out of control. Total elation.
Let's just soak it up.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think that was completely in control.
He looked in control. But the point that I make, the thing, the kind of elephant in the room, and if you allow me to, geez, I know I've completely stuffed that up. But
He used every single inch of that track.
Let's just put the numbers on this. This is what I wanted to talk about. He got the pole spot by 4/10, not 1/10, not 2/10, but 4/10. The next 4 cars had 4/10 over him. The next 4 cars. So he's got that pole position by 4/10. The interesting thing was the next day they blew a motor. So have we gone back? This is what I wanted to ask you. Have we gone back to the 80s and early 90s where we put a hot motor in? Did Ryan Story have this Windsor over there in the corner and said that's our Bathurst motor that we're going to get pole with? And
I would imagine that, I don't know. I've never worked for one of these teams, but if I was the crew chief or team manager, I'd have one of those motors for every track. Why wouldn't you?
It's just we haven't seen that sort of domination in pole by 4/10.
The thing is though, right? I when I looked at the rules a long time ago, they had this box that the motor had to fit in, which I don't understand how you can tell an engine developer it needs to make peak torque at this RPM, and you know what I mean? Because that's kind of like, it's a weird one, but apparently they have to have it fall into this area. So I don't know if they got rules that govern the gudgeon pin size, the big end size, the weight of components. More and more motorsports are taking all of that development out of the equation and saying you have to run this size bearing, you have to run, you know what I mean, like a Formula V engine or something. So I don't know how far these guys get into it, but I mean, who cares if it blew the motor? It was a killer lap.
It was a killer lap, and unfortunately, depends on what way you want to look at it. I think that's what the 2017 Bathurst will be remembered for, is that the new lap of the gods. I guess they'll come up with a new name for it.
Mate, he did not miss a single... I can't even picture that you could do a better lap with today's technology. He used every bit of that track. He hit every apex. That car was on the minimum amount of rubber it could possibly be on for, every corner that he took. It was just, the saying where all your ducks are in line. Well, mate, lucky he didn't have a shotgun, because...
It was good to look. I mean, I was really impressed by it. It received worldwide acclaim. Like a number of drivers, Will Power commented on it over Twitter. Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well commented on it. So it's received worldwide acclaim.
They love Bathurst in the US, but they still think they're production cars.
They do. Speaking of the US...
Which they are, aren't they, Nick? It's exactly showroom.
XRA.
Showroom XR8.
Speaking of international or interest from the US, Michael Andretti has announced his tie-up with Walkinshaw Racing.
So does that mean that all Walkinshaw performance cars will have MagnaFlow exhaust now?
So it's Michael Andretti, and it's also Zach Brown. Zach Brown is the team principal over at McLaren, but he is not invested in McLaren, but he is invested in United Racing. So it's an interesting tie-up there. We've got Michael Andretti, Andretti Motorsport, United Autosports, which is Zach Brown at McLaren, and now teaming up with Ryan Walkinshaw and his team.
So, is it just the racing arm, or is it Walkinshaw Performance?
No, it's just the racing arm.
Yeah.
Just the racing arm. Yeah. So, look, I mean, I think that's exciting for... there was talk that Zach Brown wanted to get into V8 supercars in one way, shape or another. And I guess this is a logical move for him. Ryan was looking at... getting some other investors in the team, because they do need to invest in the team. There's clearly their performance this year has been a little bit off. Mind you, Scott Pye came third, was it? Sorry, what am I talking about? He came second. So, they had a car up there in second place.
I was going to say, didn't they come second?
There you go. So
I thought I might have been watching a different race. And Squeegee Gate.
Look, I had to have a chuckle when I saw this. I mean, what I found interesting was they justified putting, because that is actually, to have a squidgy in the car that's unsecured is actually illegal.
They said when they were asked that it had a lanyard on it.
And also magnets to fasten it to the roll cage. So I just find it interesting that
What I want to know is if that squeegee got loose, is that lanyard connected to the ignition like it is on a motorcycle? Was that what happened to Scotty McLaughlin?
Oh, jeez, I hope not. God, I hope not.
He cornered too fast. The squeegee got out. The magnets couldn't hold.
But don't you find it amazing? It's 2017 and we got squidgies still in these cars.
They're production cars. That's how they come out.
Fair enough. The demister doesn't work.
No.
Look, let's call it for what it is. And a lot of people will be critical of me, 888 bashing, which I do. But let's call it out as it is. So 888, they would have a weekend at Bathurst they'd rather forget. So Lowndes' car wasn't getting any bite in the front. Van Gisbergen was off more times than he was on. And Whincup, they have said the other day, I think it was on Monday, they said it was actually a broken valve that caused them. They managed to fix it and get the car back out to accumulate some points, which was a good move for him.
Oh, really? They sent him out on 7.
Yeah. Well, he needed to
go.
get points, so it was classified 20th. It secured 90 championship points. So
why didn't they do this with Scotty McLaughlin? Because I've been asked this question all this week.
They couldn't get the car back. They couldn't get the driver back.
Yeah.
It's a disgrace.
Yeah.
Alex
No,
Prema,
but that's what I thought. I thought that's what had it happened. He was stuck out and couldn't get back to the pits.
I can kind of get the car not getting back, but the driver? Alex Prema was on the top of the mountain for 4 hours. They didn't even give him a drink of water. I don't know.
Have you been there?
No, I haven't.
I'm sure he would have found a drink.
Well, apparently he had to. Yeah, he was fed and watered by some of the fans because they couldn't. And
Were you going to say ferals?
No. Yeah, I just find it strange that he couldn't get back to the pit. He did get back, I think, on one of the safety cars near the end of the race. They had a window
he
of
got stuck
opportunity.
right at the top of the hill. Yeah. Couldn't reverse back. No, it's not on.
Crazy. So no, they couldn't get their car back. So that's Bathurst for another year. And in saying goodbye to Bathurst, we're also saying goodbye to the CEO. James Warburton has announced his departure from V8 Supercars.
Where's he going, netball?
A signs company. Have you ever heard of APN Outdoor? They do all the electronic signs. He's taken up a role as CEO there. So,
yeah, okay. Must pay better.
I don't think it probably would, but I reckon James can see a large mountain to overcome in the coming years. One would argue
with electronic signs.
No. Over at the V8 Supercars.
Oh, or they're not V8s anymore.
No, Supercars. Let's be honest with you. Under his tenure, he's done some great things, and I don't want to mock the man. He has done some good things, but he's also... The reality is we had 5 manufacturers when he started. We've now got 3. So
we're lucky he's not running the Motorplex. Speaking of the Motorplex, we had the test and tune this week. It was a huge, in WA, it was a huge weekend for...
It was too much, wasn't it, really? No, it's never too much, but...
I don't think so. I thought it was good. So we had 2 days of test and tune. Mm-hmm. Some new people out there. Some old ones coming back.
Okay.
I only went down on the Sunday. I didn't really see anything, that was like...
Yeah. That blew you away.
Well, I'll tell you, I saw one run, a top alcohol car, and I thought it was going to be a 560. It sounded good. It looked good.
Is this a funny car or...
No, dragster. And it was a 6.0, and I thought, wow. I must be slowing down. I'm getting old. Because it looked faster than that. Sounded faster than that.
Yeah, okay.
But the atmosphere is what I wanted to discuss.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone was so chilled.
Yeah.
It's just like it was like Ravenswood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone was more relaxed. The day just flowed on. There was no big issues. There was no, you know, sometimes you go down there and there's oil down after oil down after oil. It was just really casual. So I think Ray...
Yeah, I was going to say, has Ray brought an air of enthusiasm?
Oh, well, I didn't see him there.
Yeah.
Right? But, yeah, everything was just, you know...
But he would have been there up in the control tower, no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt. It all sounds positive. Everything sounds positive.
Yep.
So you heard about the event that they're trialling? I think it's called
Dragpalooza.
Drag-Up-A-Loser. Sorry, I pronounced that wrong, didn't I?
Dragpalooza.
Dragpalooza, that's it. And then they've got the Speedway.
Same night. Yep.
Yeah. Which I think they're calling that Speed Up a Loser. Anyway, they've changed the name. It's called Power Palooza.
Yeah, it has been there. It started off as Dragpalooza, but I think it's Power Palooza.
Power
Now
Palooza.
you got it in my head. I can't get that out of my head.
Anyway, so for those of you that don't know, they're going to be running, and I think this part of it's cool. The drag racing. And a car show, burnouts, and the Speedway. I don't know. This is a big question that a lot of people are kind of asking on both sides of the fence. I've heard this on both sides. The Speedway guys are sort of going, well, the drag people are really going to be into this. And, I think that the car show and the drags is a cool thing.
They work well together.
Yeah, and I think that's something for, like, if I was running Motivation, I'd have some... Even if it's just exhibition, I'd probably radial racing myself, but
yeah.
Anyway, so it all feels and looks very positive down there, and I'm looking forward to one of the best seasons yet.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So, and Power Cruise, huge event, rained again. It's pretty standard.
Yep. But I think it only rained on the Thursday or the Friday. I don't know. The Saturday and Sunday they were sweet on those 2 days.
I don't know. The car of the event was definitely Mo. I'm not sure how to say his name, but everyone knows the car as Lumpy Idol.
Yep.
VL Commodore. Basically won everything you could possibly win. Immaculate car.
Yep.
Overboost has done all the recent engine work and tuning on that car for the last couple of years. He's got some great people working on the car, and it's a beautiful piece of machinery.
And that car was debuted there, was it?
No, it's been out for a while, but in its latest form, it's it's making over 900 horsepower, I think.
Yeah, okay.
At the hubs. Yeah. And it's a dry sumped 26 headed 30 type setup. It's a serious I honestly believe that car would go low 8 easily, and it is a show car. The interior on it is just incredible. It is, something out of this world.
Yeah, okay.
But I heard that there was a great event and people had a great time there. So, I think this season, the summer season, let's call it, is going to be great for the car scene.
Yeah. No, we're looking forward to a big season, and hopefully our Camry is part of it in some way. We'll talk about that a bit later. NHRA, speaking of drags, NHRA moved over to Texas, the NHRA Fall Nationals. Don't like seeing crashes.
No.
Don't like talking about them. But this one, the good news out of this one was Steve Torrance actually crashed after the finish line. He'd actually won the race. Such is their structure that they were able to pull out a spare car after his crash and had that run in. Unfortunately, he went down to Brittany Force in the next round.
This is the thing, right? I really dig drag racing for that reason, that they can just roll out another car.
Yeah.
They don't have any stupid rules about, you've got to start at the rear of the grid now. Go to the back of the staging lanes.
Let's just have a look at his crash here.
Oh, hold on, Steve Torrance. Steve Torrance
Lawrence wins the race, but more importantly, we got to make sure he's okay inside of the cockpit.
Well, let's look for some movement. We see some movement from the helmet, and this is good news that Steve is getting out of the car.
Steve, we're extremely happy that you're okay, and you hopped out and you still wanted to know if you won the round. Was there any warning?
No, there was no warning. I mean, I felt the thing actually drop the tire or whatever happened and just make a hard left, and then it's just hit the wall and scoot me to the other side. Bottom line, good Lord was looking after me, and hardest thing about the whole deal is my mom and dad coming down here. But, and all my guys, you know, we're family. We got another race car. We're going to get it out and see if we can make it up for the next round, and good Lord looked after us, kept us safe there. Hell, Texas boys, we just keep going.
Texas boys keep going.
Yeah, so am I correct in saying, because I'm sure I read something about this today, that it had an engine failure and something from the engine cut the slick?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah, that's you know, it's always there.
Yeah, okay.
It's always there. The possibility of that happening, especially when a supercharger explodes. Or, you know.
Yeah.
But
he shouldn't feel too bad. I mean, Brittany went on to win the event. It was a good day for the John Force team because Robert Height also had a win in funny car, and Jason Lyon took out the win in pro stock with Drew Skillman losing the narrowest of red lights.
He's getting in there, isn't he?
Yeah. He's having a crack, Drew. He's having a crack.
Good to see the Summit team back in the winner's circle, eh?
The Summit team.
Isn't Jason Lyon with the Summit team?
Yeah, Summit. Sorry, sorry. I heard something.
Summit.
You're
still back at Brittany.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, he is. Jason Lyon. Yep. Teammate to Greg Anderson, who won last week. So. Now, our favourite event. I should preface that with my favourite event. Radial versus the World No Mercy 8 was on the same weekend as Bathurst. Unfortunately for these guys, they had to bring everything a day forward because another hurricane was impeding on them. The same with Lights Out 8 as well. They had to bring everything forward because a cyclone hurricane, they call it.
But they still finished the meeting, didn't they?
They do. They always
no excuses.
The Duck always finishes his meetings. He doesn't like. They do not like splitting prize money. It's one of their. They don't like having to split prize money, so they always. They brought the whole event a day forward, so they squished up all their qualifying into the, I think it was the Friday, so they could get eliminations. The first round of eliminations was done on the Friday night. So Marty Stinnett, Small Block Chev, Fox Body Mustang, top qualifier against arguably probably the toughest Radial versus the World field. I've only got the top 8 there.
And they're all in the 370s. Yeah. Now, that is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
It is.
You've got to wonder how light that car is.
Don't know. He would be...
He gets a break for the small block.
He does, yeah. He gets a break for a small block, and he also gets a break because it's not a pro mod.
Oh, it's got rails in it.
Yeah.
Everything else is pro mod, but it's got 2 chassis rails in it. This is one of the things that Aidan and I were talking about today.
Yeah. But to top qualify in a small block Chev, in a Fox Body Mustang, the Duck would have been in his element because this is the essence of Radial versus the World. Radial versus the World started out as that car, not that particular car, but that type of car, and morphed into now Stevie Fast's Camaro and cars.
I think the Shadow before it became the Shadow.
Yeah, the original Shadow
Orange Tomato or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That was the epitome of a radial car.
Yeah.
But it's something called Lost in Translation, I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I still want to see how much glue these guys put down to go 370 on a 315 radial.
Let's have a look. We can have a look.
There must be spider webs coming off the tyre as it leaves the start line.
There's always spider webs. Let's have a look here.
They make it look so easy.
Yeah.
That's just...
So that was the top qualifying run. I do have another video of Dwayne's win, but I'm not going to play that because the quality is not the best and that you don't really see it all that well. So, but Dwayne Mills went on to win the event. Now, Dwayne is no stranger to winning No Mercy. He has won it before, and he's taken the 50 grand before. Now, I don't know if you remember, Dwayne drives the Golden Gorilla. That's the car that had a massive flip about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's good to see him. He's since come back from that massive flip and win 2 events.
It was good to see Stevie Fast in the final.
Got to the final as well, yeah. Stevie Fast. It's an honourable mention to Stevie Fast as well to get to the final. The problem they're going to have next year is that the NHRA, in their infinite wisdom, whether they've done it on purpose or not, have actually scheduled an event the same weekend as No Mercy. So it will make scheduling of these crew chiefs quite difficult and tricky.
Oh, it's going to come down to which event the Sheik wants to win. That's pretty much what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The NHRA would be feeling the heat of all this radial racing, the popularity of it.
I never thought, though, they've never had a conflict of dates because the Duck has his dates set. These dates flow on year on year.
Yeah.
But this is the first time they've conflicted, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in 12 months' time.
You never know, the Duck might move his event.
The sort of guy he is, I wouldn't think so. But anyway, I could be wrong.
I mean, look, after that rant about Stevie Fast and...
not paying.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he's probably not worried.
No. He's
probably going to encourage him to stay home.
Yeah. All right.
So, listen, there was meant to be some grudge racing at this event. Did it go down?
I don't believe so, no.
No?
No, I think there's the restricted qualifying.
Oh, yeah, because they had to shorten the event. Yeah, so no one lost their homes or mortgage payments got made.
I believe
happy
so.
wives all around.
Yeah,
Okay,
everyone's happy.
That's good.
Everyone
it's a good
moves
outcome.
I don't know, not in the notes, but completely separate to the notes. Jeff Lutz has crashed his new car, 57.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, filming Street Outlaws. Had a track too. So that happened overnight or on Sunday
night. Oh, they
couldn't
couldn't have been filming Street Outlaws if they were at a track.
Yeah, well, they were. Yeah.
They never race on tracks, Nick,
no, of course
or
not.
Closed roads, or have police closing the roads for them. Because you and I see it all the time when we're driving around industrial areas where there's a row of lighting towers. Just the other day, we were saying, wow, this would be a great place to run an event.
To be honest, I'm a bit off the Street Outlaws thing at the moment.
Finally.
I listen to their podcast quite regularly, but their last podcast, I didn't engage with them at all, and I found them almost offensive with some of the things that they were saying about people, so I've turned off. I'm off. But I won't go into that. It was not appropriate for our viewers.
Come on, let's talk about the Formula One.
The Formula One?
God.
Off to Japan they were.
They were. Where were the Ferraris off to?
I don't know where. So the season is now officially well and truly cooked. I think Lewis Hamilton left Japan with a 60-point lead. There's only 100 points left up for grabs, so I just cannot see Sebastian having a crack at this.
No.
They had another failure. So
how can a team that was doing so well at the start of the season have so much go wrong?
I don't understand. I don't know if a lot of their success was masked with they changed engines during the year in between races, because they got to their 5 engines pretty quick. Well, not quickly, but
did they?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So they're lucky they're not starting from the car park.
Yeah, well, I think they will be in the next race. And Kimi managed to hold on to 5th spot, but yeah, Sebastian lost power. I think it was 4 or 5 laps into the race, and
it's a bit ironic, we used to throw Kimi under the bus every episode.
Yep. But it's completely well and truly over now for the Ferrari team. And look, I mean, good luck to Lewis. I was hoping of a bit more of internal battle with Valtteri, but I don't reckon Valtteri's taken it up to Lewis. He's gotten away with it pretty easy this year.
Yeah.
Off the back of Nico Rosberg winning the championship last year, who was Lewis's partner, I just I don't think Valtteri has really taken it up to Lewis this year and pressed him as hard as what he could have.
Do you think he was blocking during the race?
Who, Lewis?
No.
Oh, Valtteri?
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt he was. Yeah. Yep.
So do you think that maybe he's just hired to do that?
Well, one would argue so was Nico as well, and one always argues that the second driver is hired for that purpose, but you got to make the most of it as well. You're not just there to. I guess once the championship goes, you're halfway through the year, the team probably makes a call and says, all right, you got no chance of winning this now. You're running blocker for the number one driver. And that's probably the case here. But I would have thought that Valtteri may have had a red-hot crack at Lewis this year. And, obviously we hoped Ferrari would as well, but it hasn't panned out that way. And he's walking away with this now. It's actually turning into a bit of a cakewalk.
Well, next season there's going to be some big changes all around the paddock, so...
Yeah, there's a number of driver changes as we even close off this year. So there's a New Zealander coming into the fray for the next race. He's only got a one-race gig at this stage for Toro Rosso, and that's for the next week's US Grand Prix in Austin, Texas. So this 27-year-old is actually replacing Pierre Gasly, who is committed to a Super Formula Series where he's a contender. So he has to take off to Japan and take place in that. So, Brendan is just taking over for the one race. In saying that, Danny Kvyat is back as well, but Danny has been in and out of Toro Rosso all year and is a bit out of favour. So there is a suggestion that Brendan might replace Danny once Pierre comes back. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, anyway, it's just crazy. Formula One does not make any sense to me at all. It's the top fuel of circuit racing.
It is the top fuel,
and
yeah,
now they're trying to make it into the HQ class with these restrictions. Hang on,
yeah.
You replace the spark plug. You need to start at the back of the car park behind the trailer.
So yeah, it'll when you asked what they paid, these guys are paying for their seats. Yes. Yep.
Well, I know who's not paying for their seats.
Not
that's
Dovey. No way.
Desmo Dovey. Destroyed him again.
Yeah, look, this was, I'm going to call it now. To date, this was the best race of the year. I won't say of all time because I haven't been following MotoGP. I'm not qualified to say of all time, but it was definitely the race of the year. I was on the edge of my seat watching this.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider that they got a contact patch about the size of this petrol in the wet.
It was pouring. It rained, that torrential rain. And even Marquez, I take my hat off to him because he didn't lie over. Dovey got him with about 6 laps to go, and they swapped positions a number of times in those last 6 laps. And he did the old Marquez move on the last corner as well. This time, Dovey didn't give him the fist wave or anything like that. But it was an amazing race. It was just a thrilling, especially the last 10 laps was just thrilling to watch. It was amazing. And the Italians, they kicked ass over there. Let's call it. I mean, look at that. First, Italian, Andre Dovizioso. Third, Petrucci. And Iannone as well came in at fourth as well. So, and the Dukes, they had I know they Petrucci is a satellite team. It's not the factory Ducati, but still they did really well.
They look, the MotoGP guys, they haven't failed to entertain all this season.
No, they haven't. And this race here in particular, it was I don't know. It was just really exciting because you knew Marquez was going to have another crack at him. I knew that when Dovey got around him with 6 to go, I said, no, Marquez isn't going to lie over here, and he didn't. You know?
Yep. It amazes me, though, how much maturity Dovizioso is showing.
Yeah.
You would think Marquez, he's got the championships under his belt. He's in a really good team. They got a great bike. You'd think that he'd be more, just calmer, but he's still got that. I mean, those moves that he pulls on those closing laps, he always runs wide. It's you can imagine Dovizioso was like, he's going to do it now. Yes, there he goes.
Yeah. Well, he would have learnt a lot in the that race. I can't remember where it was where he did the same thing. He could hear the motorbike still. He could hear the Honda still revving while he's on the brakes. So he knew what was going down. But, I mean, in fairness to Marquez as well, he had a massive tank slapper with he was leading, he had a massive, I think it was 3 or 4 laps to go. How he stayed on that bike, he was basically holding on just by his hands, and his body was...
that's what they do, Nick.
Yeah.
That's their job. When they get on that thing on race day, they're going to work.
Yeah. Well, he earned his money, Marquez, as well. He really did that day.
It's like when you go to Connemara. It's exactly the same.
Same, is it? So they're off to Phillip Island next weekend. Next weekend's a huge weekend.
Oh, man, I'd love to be there.
Phillip Island,
yeah.
And we've got the Formula One over in Austin, Texas as well. So huge weekend for Australia. It's not for Australia, but for followers of MotoGP and Formula One.
Well, you might be calling it early. Maybe Daniel's going to win. Maybe there's a bit of Nick premonition.
I hope so. All right.
So, the Camry.
The Camry.
A lot's happened this week.
It has.
So, as you know, we did some testing with an NA engine.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And after you left, I carried on, right? And it doesn't matter what I do, this thing spins the tyres. Doesn't matter how slow I take off. So, I've decided I'm going to build my own LSD.
Oh, really? Yeah, right.
Yep. So, I started machining some bits today. The transmission is back in one piece other than the diff. I've tried to track down an LSD unit for it. And the reality is that even if someone did make one, I couldn't afford to buy one. But I'm going to give it a go. I reckon I could do this.
It spins the tyres amazingly easy, doesn't it? It's crazy. But even after that suspension... Can we say that?
Oh, you can, yeah.
Even after that suspension modification, I would have thought that would have worked quite well. And I think it did work, but it just hasn't given you the bite.
Well, I changed the coil. It's got home bloke coilovers. You're all going to get to see this. You're going to go, what the... This guy's got too much time in his hand. I changed the spring rate. I went from a 250-pound spring to 150. That's a massive spring rate change, right? And I lowered the car. And on paper, it all looked good. But because the back of the car's jacked, all the stuff that we did to change the angle of the A-arms is... back to zero because the back's up in the air, the front's down. So if we get a chance this weekend, I want to try and lower the back and do some more testing.
Yep.
Dave has been a huge help.
Yeah.
Trev, also yourself. I'm not as confident as I was last week that we're going to make it. We've got... So at this stage, the head studs... I don't know. They're somewhere.
Oh, right, okay.
They're somewhere. I'm not sure where. No one can tell me where.
And where's the engine?
The engine is with the guys at Performance Mods. Well, bits of the engine. The cams, I don't know where we're at. So, at best, we're going to have the bottom end with the stock top end. That's at absolute best. There's no way in the world that we'll have, obviously later on I'd still like to do it because this is such a ridiculous proposition. It is the most I've built some crazy cars. You've seen them over the last, 20 years, and I'd already built most of my crazy stuff when I was, a teenager. But this is definitely, it's got me interested. Hence why I thought, well, we'll try and make an LSD for this thing. So I've seen some pretty crude stuff out there that people sell.
Yeah, right, okay.
We'll see how it goes. If I can get it to, try to hook up, then the suspension should work. So we've got a monumental next 2 weeks. If we're going to make it, it's going to be. So the other thing that's happened is, we've been talking about wheels for a while. I spoke to Stan.
Oh, yeah, Stan, yep, Rita and Stan.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to go down and see him and get some 7s for the front.
Yep.
And, but it is because I've got to get these cars fit. Like last week was ridiculous because we had all the guys that forgot about their transmissions and torque converters for the test and tune and Power Cruise. Like I actually... For anyone that was down at Power Cruise that saw a white BMW, I think it's a 5 Series, smoking its tyres and drifting around the track wondering what the hell's in it. It's got a BMW engine with a turbo and a C4.
Oh, that's the one you're working on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that literally was, okay, we need to get another gearbox in here. C4 might fit. Let's get a piece of aluminium and and that's that. I mean, it was such a ridiculous proposition that we had a week to figure out how to adapt a C4 to this thing and get it in there and get it ready for Power Cruise. And the owner works away. So I'm not making this up, right? He flew in on the Thursday and drove the car to scrutineering.
Oh, wow. So you had to install that one as well?
Yeah, it wasn't a deal originally, but we ended up, I sort of just walked off into the corner of the workshop and put it together.
I thought you were going to say went into the fetal position.
No. I just, I'll tell you, this is the really cool part about that car, okay? So in front of the differential, there's like a tube that's part of the subframe that holds the rear suspension, okay? So normally when you've got the ZF transmission in this thing, there's a flange at the diff with a CV looking thing, and there's a flange at the gearbox. So you undo the bolts, you drop down the gearbox end, because there's nothing in the way, and then you slide the tail shaft out of that tube that's in front of the diff, right? Because that tube's about 1 foot long, roughly, right? When you've got a slip yoke on a C4, you can't do that.
Yep.
Because you've got to slide that into the gearbox, right? So, there was no time left. The owner was flying in the next day, and he still had to fit the center console, and I had to get the car down on the ground, get it sorted, down on the ground, outside wherever, because Novus was coming to fit a new windscreen to it, right? So it had to be done. These guys were on their way. And I'm standing under the car going, how am I going to do this? So I actually had to pull the universal joint apart.
Oh, yeah.
Slide the shaft in there, slide the slip yoke, and then reassemble the uni joint, which, it was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. But you just, thinking back, I was going, you didn't really think about this, did you? But it worked.
Yep.
It as far as I know, the gearbox is still changing gears after the flogging it would have got.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, it was the last week has been flat out with that. We got a big chunk of work done. Dave, like I said, Dave's been a huge help.
Yeah.
Got a big chunk of work done on some bits and pieces for the Camry. I was actually there till 3 o'clock this morning reassembling the transmission. So fingers crossed it actually works. So Keys has come up with a spragless setup because apparently the sprag in second gear fails.
Mm-hmm.
So not only is this completely untested and we don't have a clue if it's going to work, but we need to program the computer because it's like a clutch-on-clutch transmission now. We need to release one clutch as we apply the next one. So Jamie is doing the wiring, right? Because we've got that many Camrys now, we can afford to just give this guy one and give this guy one.
There are, look, the real the thing is that the Camry now has got quite a big following. There's a lot of people asking me, how's the Camry going? And they want to know.
Well, you know, look, fingers crossed we're going to make it because I'm going down to the drags on the weekend. You know, it sort of it got me a little bit excited. Talking to Aiden today got me a little bit excited, but even he said, he goes, "What are you guys doing with this Camry? What the?" And then when I told him we're actually going to drive it across the Nullarbor, he goes, "Man, that's it. Nothing I do is going to top this," you know. So I hope we can pull it off, and most importantly, I hope we can show the Victorians that, you know, we got something for them over here. We're not just good at football.
We're not just good at footy. We can build some pretty tough cars as well. But as I said, the car
we can even build cars that aren't tough.
It's got a bit of a following, and a lot of people ask me as well, why on earth are you doing a Camry? And I say to them, but because it's never been done before.
It's not just that, Nick. The reality is we're ahead of the curve. Because you tell me, that what's the next Commodore going to be? You know, it's going to be a V6 front-wheel drive.
Yep.
You can call it all-wheel drive if you want, right? But I think that diff out the back's not really doing much, you know? It's going to be a front-wheel drive V6 deal. And Jordan came to see me the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And he said, Gons, you know, where do you see the industry going? Like, where do you see this going? And I've talked about this before, and people have openly expressed their thoughts that I should see a shrink because I'm going crazy. But I told him the same story. It took 50 years for the car to replace the horse entirely. Okay? So, you know, the Benz, whatever you want to call as the first car, we can sort of say that around 1900, 1901, right? That's when it hit, and it was very primitive. Like, I'd rather ride a horse.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then you look at 1950, who was riding a horse? No one was riding a horse,
Yep.
okay? And it took a while for technology to get moving in the early 1900s, you know, like in terms of people finding out about it. We didn't have the internet. The way the internet is now, someone farts in America, you can smell it in Australia. You know what I mean? It's that intrusive. Is that the word? Is that the word I'm looking for? But anyway,
I think so. Yeah, we'll go with that.
So yeah, we'll go with that. So I think that now with the EHAG 138, as far as I know, operating in Dubai or on the cusp of about to begin operating. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it is a driverless drone vehicle that flies you from destination to destination. You summon it just like Uber or Chauffeur on your phone, get in it, it takes you there, and it charges your credit card. I can see that within 20 years' time, that's going to replace the car.
Yeah, okay.
And
you've told me that before.
Yeah, so long term, that's what I see is going to happen. And, you know, people don't want to swallow this pill. They go, no way, no way. I'm pretty sure if you're a blacksmith back in 1901 and you saw that Benz thing cruising past, and I was standing there like an idiot going, that's going to replace... That's going to replace horses within 50 years. You would have been, yeah, whatever, mate.
Yeah,
so,
true. That's a good point.
So as far as the car scene goes now, right, I'm talking, you know, like, so the long-term thing, 20, 50, whatever years, right? I think drones are going to be, you know, vehicles like that are going to be the next big thing. But in the short term, next 5 years, next 10 years, okay, the car scene, right? Electric 2040, we kind of have to say that somewhere around there, it's going to happen. It's going to be set in concrete.
Yeah.
Between now through the 2020s, in Australia, I think we're going to see more European cars, right? Guys thinking outside the square. Now, this is something that I also discussed with Jordan. There is a fine line between cool and absurd. Okay, so when the Gregich boys did the 2 Mercedes, I thought that was cool because they executed them well. The cars looked sharp, and you know the stance, everything was right, and they were a cool car. They were rare, you know. But a Volvo 240 wagon,
yeah,
that's not gonna ever like that whole thing of I'm doing something different, and you know because it's different, it's cool. Bullshit, right? I call bullshit on that. It's still a Volvo, right? So I think we're going to see more BMWs. I think we're going to see people doing M lookalikes or, you know, doing M cars. I think you're going to see more of that European thing. I mean, the VWs, what they're getting out of them, not just in Europe, but over here. I've seen them down at the drags, a couple of 12-second ones, you know, these late model V-dubs. I think we're going to start to see a bit more of that. And I kind of embrace it. I mean, look, you know that I've always been a diehard V8, you know, guy. That's been my thing. But you got to move with the times.
Yeah, of course.
And you know, there's some cool stuff out there. So I think the timing's right now for us to start to embrace it. What we do need is for people like Scott to, you know, get more into what is happening. So the MX-5, we were involved with the MX-5 project. I think that we're starting to see, you know, some stuff moving, but we've got to start seeing some European stuff. The Japanese stuff, you know, it's been done and dusted. Do you know what I mean? It's time for the BMWs, the Mercedes, not so much the Volvos, but, you know, the Audis. I was actually at one of the workshops. I'm not going to mention who it was, because they probably don't want anyone to know that the car's there, but I saw a really cool Audi.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and aftermarket ECU, and I thought, wow, that's different.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Yep.
So yeah, it's I'm excited. I think there's some good stuff happening. The Camry thing for me, the reason it's so exciting is because I don't know if you remember when we built the Datsun, and you know it was you, me, Dave, and pretty much the whole team. The only guy that's missing is
Jeff.
Jeff, that's right. We built that car really in the space of a weekend.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right? And when I say we built it, like, you have got no idea how much we modified and how much we were just pulling it out of our ass. Like, for example, IRS was still relatively new back in those days. And I had a concept that if I made 3 coils with 3 different spring rates,
that's right,
I would be able to preload the suspension on the foot brake, right? And then instead of it trying to bottom out like the Commodores will do and tear their back bumper off, that it would because the spring rate's getting progressively stiffer, that it would get down and just use all that energy to plant the tyre. And the goal was to run 11.0 at 125 mile an hour. That was our goal, because that was Super Street stopped at 11.0 and everyone was doing like 115. And I figured, if I'm doing 125, I've got 10 mile an hour on these guys through the top end. They're not going to know whether to brake, accelerate, or, you know. And that car, the first pass, the nitrous was armed with the bottle off, but you know, thank God, because it would have. Bailey would have killed us, I reckon. But the actual first pass that it did, it went 11.0 at 125 mile an hour. And it was just, I mean, even mounting the fuel pumps, there was nowhere to mount them. And then the only place that you could mount them, the bloody tail shaft, not the tail shaft, the half shaft, the axle was right there.
Yeah.
And we knew we were going to snap them on a regular basis. Remember we made that shield up to go around the axle? And how many times did we break that axle? How many times would I...
It broke a few times.
Oh, God. We got so good at... Maybe that's why I'm good with the universal joints, because we used to change them at the track.
Yeah, because they had unis in the back end of that, I remember.
So,
and also the pulse counter as well we had.
We had that
so
for going into stage.
Going into stage, you could count the pulses.
Yeah, we had the twin line lockers and the... Remember we made that electric throttle setup.
That's right, yeah.
He used a XF fast idle solenoid. So this is the thing, because the Camry, you can't buy anything for it.
No, that's right.
You can't buy anything for it. You can't even buy original parts
for
for
it. Parts for it, let alone the shit that we're trying to do.
So it's kind of got me a little bit excited, because if it works, you know, there are so many variables and so many things where you've sort of just gone, well, you know, in theory, this is what should happen. That if this thing actually does manage to, forget about driving across a nullarbor, if it actually manages to go down the track and run a representative number and look as stock as it does, it's just going to be an amazing accomplishment. And once again, over the years that you've been involved with the crazy projects that I've come up with, the one thing that we're very, very good at is that when you look at our stuff, it looks pretty boring. Like, it doesn't really, you kind of don't even really notice it. It just,
yeah,
you know, it's in the background.
It still blends in, that one. That photo, I showed someone a photo the other day. I go, that just looks normal, but now I said, well, that's the idea.
So we'll see how we go. Fingers crossed. I haven't thrown the towel in yet, but I don't know how many more 3 a.m.
It's basically 3 weeks till we got to be there now. So
Yeah.
it's
going to go to the wire.
Yeah.
Anyway. Trevor and I have done Perth to Sydney.
Trevor's the man, mate.
Yeah,
when it comes to those things.
2 up, I think. Towing the Datsun, we did it in 52 hours. So towing a 6x4 box trailer in a turbo.
Yeah, he's all over it.
Turbo Camry.
That's the drive over there is obviously a big one, but Trev's the man for that stuff. If you don't know who Trevor is, those that are listening who know Trevor, they'll know what I mean by that. But he's up for that sort of stuff.
The goat. He's the goat.
He's the goat. All right, we need to thank a few sponsors, All Fast Torque Converters. That's you. Shift Kits Australia. Jamie, thanks for your help. SCM Performance. Charlie and Sandro, they going well?
Yeah. I spoke to Sandro tonight. I think he was cryptically telling me that his car's getting close to getting back on the track.
Oh, the XF. Oh, good on him. Oh, that's good. Look forward to seeing that. Paul at Keys Transmissions.
He's in Adelaide at the moment.
Paul?
So yeah, any of our Adelaide listeners, you can catch up with Paul now.
Yeah, go to his website, Keys Transmissions. BG Mechanical, that's Trevor there. Stewie at WA Suspensions. And Johnny at Benzene Detailing. And is Matt at the air conditioning? Is Matt?
Mac 1 Air Conditioning.
Mac 1 Air Conditioning as well.
He actually came past today.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other one I've missed off there as well, and sorry, Scott at Bryson Canvases as well.
Scott did an amazing job of the back seat.
The back seat was...
It's mate, if you need any motor trimming done, definitely look him up. Yep.
Check out the back seat on the Camry. Actually, that sounds funny, doesn't it? All right. We'll just finish off with the 28th of October is the launch of the Girls Talk and Kids Educate anti-bullying campaign. That has actually been launched on their website as well, so get on to that as well if you can. If you go to our Facebook page, you can find a link there. So get on board and support that.
Challenge Batteries.
Challenge Batteries, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Challenge Batteries. They're helping us out as well. Challenge Batteries. All right. Find us at Podbean, iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and thanks to all of our new listeners. You can also find us at www.talkandpower.net. Thanks, Simon. Where can they find you?
At Allfast.
At Allfast.
I'll be there a lot.
You'll all be there a lot.
And just remember, Tom Tilley is the hack.
Tom Tilley is the hack. I'm going to have to ask you off air what that means.
Don't you listen to the hack?
No. What's the hack?
It's not true. Oh, that's right. You don't. Your radio doesn't go to Triple J, does it?
882 on occasions. Basil and Millsy.
What about 585?
No. Don't go down that.
No.
Don't go down that low. Don't
really?
Go down that low. No. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Simon, for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
No worries. Take care.
See you on the street.
See ya.
Talk and Power stresses all characters and events on this podcast, even those based on real people, are entirely fictional. All celebrity voices are impersonated poorly. We do not encourage street racing or the use of turbochargers.